The fancy fill is a decorative fill where the needle penetrations form a pattern. You can use this type of fill in wide and large areas. You can use the icon to apply the fancy fill, or you can open Object Properties and select Fancy Fill from the drop-down choices. These stitches form a repeating pattern, but they have the appearance of a solid stitch. In Object Properties, click on the drop-down arrow next to Pattern, and you will find 180 different types of fancy fill stitches that can be applied. By selecting a different option, the preview will update in the preview window. But again, the change will not be made to your object until you click on Apply or OK. You can find stitch outs for the fancy fills by clicking on Open Design, navigate to your embroidery folder, Bernina 9 Embroidery, find the reference files, and open the Fancy Fill folder. There are several files in this folder that will stitch out samples of the 180 different fancy fills. In Object Properties, there are many things that can be changed in addition to the pattern. You can edit the size of the pattern, and notice the preview automatically updates. You can also change the rotation angle of the pattern. The stitch spacing can be changed, as well as the column spacing and offset and the row spacing and offset. Notice for the column spacing and offset and the row spacing and offset, the double blue arrow appears in the diagram at the right, so you know what will be changed. The preview window will help you decide whether or not to make the change. Sculptured Fancy Fill can be applied to objects with turning stitches. By selecting the object and clicking on Reshape, you'll see that this object has multiple stitch angles. You'll learn how to create these types of objects in later videos. You can activate Sculptured Fancy Fill by clicking on the icon or by placing a dot in front of Sculpture under the Layout. Sculptured Fancy Fill creates a three-dimensional turning pattern. Either an object has to be created with multiple angles with the Block tool in the Digitize toolbox, or stitch angles must be added to an object in the Edit toolbox to use Sculptured Fancy Fill. Again, you will learn how to use these tools a little later in the video series.